On tonight's edition of the Fatside Footy podcast, round 15 is in the books and we're back in a big way. All 18 teams are back on deck with massive results coming out of round 15. We'll churn through all of them. Plenty of upsets to discuss as well. And guess what's back? It's game of the round. We'll give you our votes 1 to 5. Wisdom or Waffle is back for the second week running. Bobby's famous hot and cold. I'll shine the spotlight on plenty and we'll compare the pair. Bobby, I'm ready. Are you?
Ready to roll.
Yes, a big welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Round 15 is in the books, and I cannot wait to deep dive into what was a massive weekend of footy. Bobby, how are you, mate?
Mate, I'm fantastic. That was a huge weekend of footy. Huge weekend for upsets, and great to see 9 games of action again.
Yeah, now you've noticed that on this magnificent Wednesday night, when we record our famous program, I'm in a terrific mood, and it's 4 days on from what was an incredible away victory for my Western Bulldogs.
Mate, victories for you and me both. Yeah. Great efforts. Even last night, I tried to pull a McKernan with the misses. I leapt straight into the action, got barely a feather on it, slotted it home.
He's on fire! No. Oh, well, I'm proud of you, Bob.
That's not really true.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I did a rock lift.
Yeah.
Got demoted and had to go and touch it up 57 times on my own.
Yeah, well, Ali wanted a warm cuddle from me, but I sold some candy like the Bont and the Wet, mate, so I was in fine form myself.
I am the greatest.
Now, Bob, we've got plenty of results to churn through, and you're a happy camper. The Bombers got up on Thursday night last week against the Giants. Tell us all about it, mate.
Indeed we did. Well, we'll crack into the results. The mighty Red and Black Bombers pinched an unlikely victory from the Giants by 1 solitary goal. The Magnets were spun. Hooker got marched up the board, produced a tantalisingly sweet victory with 2 late goals, including the match winner. McKernan was huge in the first half with some big contested marking before being thrust into the ruck. Bellchambers suffering a calf tear, unfortunately, but Smack produced a great fourth quarter. Zaka was pretty good in his 200th with a nice classy goal at one point. Canelio and Kelly were the Giants' best, and Cameron had 3 goals won, but 5 of the last 6 went the way of the Dons, much to my uncontainable delight that caused a weekend long-lasting erection.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Friday night saw the Cats beat the Crows by 27 points. Adelaide really showed up for the first half. They looked threatening. Riley O'Brien was on fire in the ruck, and Scotty then spun him some magnets himself, moving the blitz into the middle, and the result was very noticeable. Geelong lifted in the second half. TK had 33 touches, 2 goals and 9 clearances. Selwood loved being back around the coalface. He had 33 and 6 clearances, and Guthrie had a very solid contribution as well. For the Crows, Seedsman had a great night, 28, 2 goals. Crouch and Sloan both had 30, but poor Bryce Gibbs might be at risk of sample duties again. He only had 13 touches and 2 clearances. Then we moved on. There was the battle of the Birds of Prey, and the Eagles were flying the highest by the end of it. They beat a very inaccurate Hawks outfit, who kicked 9-17 to West Coast's 11-11 for West Coast to win by 6 points. West Coast seemed in control around half-time, thanks mostly to Jack Darling's 3 goals in the first quarter. Jamie Cripps added 2 goals in the second. The Hawks really had the better of them in the second, due mostly to the inside 50 work of Warple and O'Meara, who had 36, but 3 points, Jaeger O'Meara. In the end, the Eagles were cleaner in the wet. Nick Nat back, and he looked pretty good. 58% time on ground, but the game breakers, Luke Shuey, 39 touches, 11 clearances and a goal, along with Darling, who ended up on 5 goals, 2 and 4 contested marks, while Hearn had 16 kicks of his 19 touches and went at 89% efficiency in that bath.
Oh, wowee.
Those are amazing stats. Then the Swans. They took care of the Suns at the SCG, winning by 42 points. The game couldn't have started worse for the Red and White. Cal Sinclair popping his shoulder out twice in the first quarter. Forced an awkward ruck rotation of Alir into the middle. Reid also had to chop out against Witts, and that meant Tom McCartan moved into the back line. Young Jordan Dawson, 3rd year in the league and only game 18, but was probably best on ground for me. He had 28 touches at 82% with 21 kicks. Heaney was pretty big, 25 and 2 goals won. Foster's Blakey.
Oh, the lizard.
Gobbled up 2 more snags this week, and Parker did some serious damage through the guts again, 31 and 11 clearances. The Suns did have some life to halftime, where the margin was only 8 points. Couldn't back it up in the second half.
They're an exhausted young crop, aren't they, mate?
They really are. Witts dominated again against the part-timers. He had 55 hit-outs and 17 touches, and I really thought Lukosius was good. 18 touches at 78%, 7 marks and 2 contested, but that's about it to write home about the Suns. Then, the massive Saturday destruction of the Collingwood Football Club by the North Melbourne Football Club. A 44-point sodomization of what was a bent-over and Vaselined Pies team.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
To be honest, the 37-81 scoreline is generous to the Pies.
Yeah.
North dominated them all over for about 4 quarters. Bucks was ropeable and probably threw a few don't come Mondays to some of the fellas, I would have thought.
Oh, yes.
Led by a rampaging duo in Z Bull, 25 and 3 goals, and Cunners, 37 and 7 clearances. North got the chockies with the help from big games from Jai Simpkin. He had 30 and 11 clearances, and Atley was pretty good with 27 as well. Benny Carrot Top Brown, he kicked 4 points from 4 marks inside 50. He really could have thrown the dagger into them, and we could have been talking a 10-goal plus loss.
Yeah.
They didn't really show much as a group, the Pies. Treloar did have 40 and 10 clearances. Pendles had 33 and 6 clearances himself. They showed some ticker, but the salt in the wound was the injury to Ben Reid. Seemingly innocuous and no real obvious cause to pinpoint. He looks like he'll be out for a few weeks to a month. It's time. The Bulldogs.
Oh, we're back, baby! I wouldn't say we're back, but gee, am I a happy man.
The Bulldogs, they travelled to Adelaide and got the win over the top 8 Port Power.
Hey, I've been there, and that is nothing but the truth. We had hot chips thrown at us, man.
Absolutely torrential conditions over there, but they still got 25,000 turn up to the game. So I'm going to raise a hand to the South Australians and applaud them for showing up in the weather. That's pretty brave.
They don't have nightclubs there, though, do they? Or
Skip!
Team led the...
Skip, you're a hater!
Look, probably lucky that it was raining in the end because it would have masked their absolute tears they were shedding as they were walking home. Your boys, Jacko, shook them from the first bounce. The Bont was a class above early on, going at over 80% in the first, finishing up with 27 touches and 9 clearances.
Yeah, I was certainly calling him Marcus James Hurd Bontempelli at quarter time.
McRae led the mids for most of the night. He had 36 and 6 clearances and a goal. But the Shack Attack. A couple of nice contested marks in there. He really showed some nice forward craft, which is something I'd spoken to you about. He was rewarded with another 3 goals. That's one of his best efforts ever, I think.
What I must say, though, that kicking in that weather, that is elite. That was elite on Saturday night.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Do you think that's his best game he's ever had?
For us, Brisbane didn't do much. Yeah.
I think it is.
Yep.
So good on him. Fantastic result for Josh Shackey. For Port, Lieutenant Lysette, he monstered young English again.
Yes.
42 hit-outs, he had 21 touches, and he went at 76% efficiency also, which is pretty amazing. Boak had another 30-plus game with 10 clearances, and Port won the inside 50 count by 20, but lost the tackle game by 30. So the Dogs looked vintage Dogs all of a sudden. Then, moving on to Sunday, it started with Richmond giving St Kilda a bit of a touch-up. However, it was a tight affair until the 4th, when the Tigers and Dustin Martin decided that he would call game. He finished with 36 and 6 clearances and 2 crucial goal assists late. Young rising star Sydney Stack, best effort yet with 4 goals. And the green shoot utility / ruckman Chol, he bagged 3 snags himself and 9 marks. I really liked what I saw from him.
Outing. What I might just quickly add with St Kilda, they rolled over.
Rolled over, absolutely.
Just the easiest rollover I've ever seen. It's hard to watch.
Look, there wasn't many positives for them. The one thing I will say is the best thing that's happened to St Kilda this year on the field is Rowan Marshall.
Yeah.
He is shaping up to be a serious footballer. He had 33 hit-outs, 19 touches at 79%, 9 marks and a goal. He is arguably their best player in the last month. Good games from Seb Ross and Josh Battle might leave that door open to debate who their BNF will be by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I think he really could win it. Tom Lynch finished with 3 goals, 3 after Carlisle ran out of gas, and Vlosten was handy with 26 touches, going at 92%. So nice game from him. Then we moved up north. The Gabatoir was open for business again, Jacko. Brisbane cut the Demons up on Sunday by 33 points. After looking likely to fall victim to an energetic Melbourne team early, Eric botched facial surgery Hipwood.
Rafa.
He absolutely tore the game apart. I don't remember ever seeing that in my lifetime for someone to go and kick 5 major snags like that in 15 minutes.
What impressed me the most is he did that, then flew straight over to Wimbledon.
One of his snags, you and I spoke about it the other day, was so nice. It was round the body effort from 40 out, from the goddamn boundary.
It was buddy-like, man. I loved it.
Multiple long-range goals from him in that game. Multiple goals from about 50. He was absolutely on fire. He was fed all day from huge efforts by Jared Lyons. 33 touches, 6 clearances, 3 goal assists. Lachie Neale had 38 at 79% and 12 clearances. But the biggest midfield effort for me was the Zork. 31 touches, 7 clearances, 6 inside 50s, 3 goals too. For Melbourne, poor Maxi Gawn copped a badly rolled ankle going up against Steph Martin, and he was clearly hampered by it. He managed just 66% time on ground.
Yep.
Christian Salem was great for the Ds. He had 32, 8 rebound 50s, and even managed a goal. Tom McDonald, T-Mac, he failed to replicate last week's effort. But Harms, your boy, he's carrying on in the middle, Jacko. 27 at 85%, 5 clearances. Shaping up to be a good player. And then the footy gods, they saved the absolute best for last this weekend. Carlton ran over the top of a Fremantle team that completely lacked stamina. They lacked ticker at home. They couldn't hold off the 18th team in the competition, losing to a Mark Murphy game winner with 30 seconds left to put the Blue Baggers up by 4 points. 3-32 in Fremantle's favour at quarter time. You said that you'd switched off.
I turned the TV.
You'd seen
TV
enough.
was off for the night.
Considering Paddy Cripps was out, they lost Charlie Curnow early. McKay wasn't playing either.
Yep.
It seemed inevitable that the Blues would cop an absolute belting over in Perth. But Teague and the boys seemingly said bugger that, rallied in the second, after I'm sure they copped a spray. They arm wrestled the middle part of the match, surged absolutely late at precisely the right time. Goals to Kennedy, Daisy, and finally Murphy got them the win. Ed Curnow. 15 clearances.
What a performance.
From his-
Jack Silvani impressive too.
Very good.
Yep.
Very good. You know, he cops a lot from Carlton supporters. They expect a lot out of him. I think he's a third round pick.
We forget he's pick 56.
There you
it's
go.
just unfortunate his last name is Silvani.
Walsh, who is their high pick, he did well. He had 30 touches, 8 tackles through the guts. Nick Newman was good off half back with 25 and 6 inside 50s. And Liam Jones rediscovered some of his GOAT form with some great contested marks. For Freo, the Fife man, he was pretty incredible early, but he tapered late, ended with 29, 1 goal 2, and 3 contested marks. With so much to look at from this weekend of footy, Jack, that leads me to ask you, what is your game of the round?
My game of the round was just that, Bob. It was Fremantle versus Carlton at Optus Stadium, Sunday twilight. Man, what a way to finish round 15. Just when you look at it on paper and you're like, that's probably the worst game of round 15.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, that topped pretty much the whole round for mine. Look, for Fremantle, Fife was good. Blakey was good also. McCarthy banked 4 majors and looked really good for Fremantle.
Didn't he?
Throughout the day. Was very serviceable up forward. Yeah, but this story is all about Carlton. They were facing a 29-point deficit at quarter time. They lost Charlie Curnow early. No Patrick Cripps. And Carlton rallied together, backs against the wall, facing all that adversity, away from home in Perth, bottom of the ladder. Quite a gutless team this season at times as well. Rallied the troops, led by their leaders, Cade Simpson, Mark Murphy, Cruiser, the likes of those boys. Got all the young'uns up, and Teague must have said something ridiculous at quarter time, or there was something in the water, because they came out and made Fremantle look second rate on their home deck. Pulled them apart piece by piece.
Slowly cooked them.
Churned them back into the game. Jack Silvani went to Nat Fife and did a nice, reasonable job on him. He still had 29, but he was also good going forward for Carlton as well.
He was.
Yeah. It's my game around because this is probably the best win of the season as far as backs against the wall, missing star power.
Yeah.
This is really impressive. And it holds really nicely for Teague in his pre-app. He's certainly staking a claim for the top job next season.
Well, he's got a bit more experience than Reece Shaw.
Yes.
So, but he looks like the man with the golden touch. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Patrick Dangerfield quickly touched on him when Sam McClure asked him on SEN as well. He was under Teague as an assistant at the Crows, back in the Crows days, just when he was coming up through the ranks, and he couldn't speak higher of him. He was... He's a great footy brain. He loves football more than pretty much anything in life. When Paddy saw him get the Carlton opportunity, he knew that he'd make the most of it and get really good results. But my favourite moment of the game was, funnily enough, the end. They churned, they crashed, they bashed, they socketed it. It was ugly. All they had to do was get it forward. Levi Casbolt.
He was great.
He was awesome.
Yeah. He made a contest. And right at the end, when Murphy kicked that goal, that chain was started by him. He actually crashed it, brought it to the front, and then they capitalised. I just loved the fact that he got moved forward because he
Yes.
spent a lot of time in the back.
Yep.
And with the Kerno going down, he got thrust forward and he did his job. Good on him.
Yeah. No, it was sensational. Before I do touch on my favourite ending of the game, Ed Kerno, he cannot go unnoticed or unspoken about here. 15 clearances, absolutely monstered the midfield. He was the catalyst for what was a famous victory for the old Dark Navy Blues. But the icing on the cake, the story couldn't have been written any better. It was the favourite son. He has been through the ringer at that club. He's been bashed, he's been doubted, everything. Mark Murphy, ball in hand, 20 seconds on the clock, check side, off balance, falling onto his back.
It was a professional goal, wasn't it?
Professional goal. Knew where to put it. Understood the significance of the moment and went with it. And he goes, watch this, boys.
They knew it too. They swarmed him.
Oh, they swarmed him. It was like he scored the winning penalty in a World Cup final.
Yes,
It was
yeah.
unbelievable. And you don't have to like Carlton. Hell, you could hate them. But God, that would put any smile on any face.
Yeah, it's what footy's about.
It's what footy's about.
That's fairy tale stuff.
What a fairy tale ending to what was a great round of football. That's why it was my gaming around, and good on Carlton, and I'm happy for their supporters because I've been there, you've been there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a dark, deep hole, and they've been there for too long. Now, Bobby, you're gaming around. Hit me with it.
Well, I feel like it has to be. It has to be North versus Collingwood.
Oh, boy.
Now, there's a lot to digest from this match. I'm going to start with the Pies so we can shovel the shit out of the way before we get to the gold of the Roos.
Yikes.
The Pies. It's been said by a lot of other people. They were soft. They were weak. They were scared. I think Buckley even said they jumped out of the way. And he's not wrong. There is vision of literally players jumping out of the way of
Can't
football.
remember a senior coach being this honest.
But because it's so against his personal brand,
Yes,
that
yeah,
it would burn him up at night. I
Well,
know
yeah,
it would.
it would stain his reputation he's upheld for 20 plus years.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the pressure that North applied, the physicality, relentlessly all over them. The areas that Collingwood won on the weekend. Hit-outs, of course, they won 46-33, lost the clearances 43-39. After that, they won the free kick count 27-11, but that's because in part North were happy to smash in and win the psychological war. And that's it. Those are the only two areas of the game that they won. Statistically significant areas. That's it.
Wow.
I've been a bit lukewarm on the Pies and their chances of going deep in September and making another grand final for some time. North managed to expose their defence on the weekend.
Yep.
In a big way. They kicked to contests away from Roughhead and Moore, and they really exposed some of those smaller Pies defenders. They also exposed the Degoe one out in the arc plan. They totally worked around that, and they made them kick in. Every time it hit the deck, there was an extra North Melbourne defender. I don't know how, but it was genius coaching. Slowly, I think we're seeing there's more than one chink in the armour of what is still a legitimate grand final contender in Collingwood.
Yes.
They have a lot of concerns now.
Red flags for you, Bob?
They'll play finals.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lock. But
Where will they go in finals?
Yeah.
Where?
Well, I heard a Collingwood supporter, regular caller on SEN, call them out, and he thinks they could go straight sets if they don't rectify their issues.
Well, only winning 2 quarters of footy is a recipe for disaster in September.
Absolutely.
You must win 4 quarters of football, or you must dominate 1 and win 2 others, or something to that effect. They can't do that. They've done that once or twice all year, and some of that is the early games.
I wouldn't want to be playing the Eagles first week in Perth.
Absolutely not. Now, look, I'll go to the Roos. Firstly, the game. Tough.
Yeah.
Back to the real shin boner type theme. It looks like it's going to stick for the remainder of the year too. That's
Very
probably
impressive, yeah.
an early crow, but it looks like it might stick. Reece Shaw has either told them to wind the clock back, or he's potentially sat there on a chest full of ideas that he's had to keep quiet under Brad Scott, and now he's able to open that up. The move of Simpkin into the middle. It's been just shy of genius. Obviously, the Higgins injury kind of forced that move, but the selection of Simpkin as the replacement is kind of brilliant. I'm not a North supporter. I don't watch all of their games, but I wouldn't have seen that coming.
No.
Since Scott left, he has averaged, Simpkin, 5 clearances compared to 2. Zeeble was goalless for an entire month. Versus your boys, Brad Scott's last game, he had 16 touches, no score impact, no clearances and 1 tackle. In the 4 games since Brad Scott has left, he's kicked 6 goals, 1, averaged 6 clearances and 8 tackles from less time on ground.
Wow. That is remarkable.
Rejuvenated is the only word that fits in
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It's the only word. That's what's happened. He has managed to rejuvenate that squad. all the credit has to go to Reece Shaw. And it all came together on the weekend. The spirit of their history as a football club, the leadership and its talent at the top, and then the endeavour of some of the youngsters and the clever game plan of what appears to be a head coach worthy Reece Shaw.
I'd give him the nod.
It's tough because you can get sucked in by an interim coach,
Yes.
but yeah, I suppose people can get sucked in. But look, here's the thing. They might be a Sydney-style late run into the finals.
Yes.
What helps them is the inconsistency of Essendon, bad losses by Port and Freo on the weekend, and the fact, to be honest, that 15-minute display by Brisbane, if it wasn't for that, they would have easily got beaten by Melbourne.
Yeah.
So there's a few teams up the top and above them that are shaky, that can be gettable. If they play like that for another month, and it's going to be really tough because they're a game and percentage away, there's no wiggle room for any setbacks, but if they can keep playing like that, they might just play finals. So that's my game of the round, mate.
Wow. If they make the finals, that's a remarkable comeback.
North have turned it on in 3 to 4 weeks. Completely flicked the switch, so I loved it.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, yeah, that's it. So now it's time for the votes. All right, Jackie boy, what have you got for me? Run me through your 1 to 5 this week.
Well, you and I both spoke about this off air. This was the most difficult 1 to 5 votes we've ever had. Ever. Took me a whole day's work to figure it out.
Yeah, a lot of deliberation went into this, and I'm not happy with it either.
Absolutely. Now, Geelong fans will scoff that I've only given him 1 vote, but Geelong's Tim Kelly will receive 1 vote from me this weekend. You know, just another lazy 33 disposals at 82%. He kicked 2 goals, 9 clearances, and is just an absolute Rolls Royce. And a rumour has it he is the next $1 million man. Does he deserve $1 million, Bob?
Absolutely.
Yes, he does. So yeah, he's my first vote. My second vote goes to the favourite son of the Blues. He features in the votes for the first time in Fatside history. Mark Murphy, 34 disposals, 7 clearances, led from the front all day, and just grabbed the young Blues and said, "Follow me," and kicked one of the most professional match-winning goals I've ever seen. And we touched on earlier in the program that we are both in agreement of that. So he's 2 votes for mine this week. My 3 votes goes to the Lord Messiah, the god of Footscray Town, Marcus Bontempelli. I can't remember a better first quarter in those conditions in recent history at all. It was bucketing down. It was hailing. And every other player looked like they were reaching for the soap after they've dropped it multiple times in a shower. But Bontempelli's like, mate, it's blue skies and sun.
Had the grippo working.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't even need the Travis Cloak glove at all. Yeah, he just was hot early, and he got us off to the start we most definitely needed, and set the tone for the entire night, which ended up in a great win. He notched up 27 disposals, 9 clearances, 10 tackles in that weather as well. And I believe he was running at 82% at quarter time. Now, that is remarkable. My 4 votes, I sweated on this one, but my 4 votes goes to West Coast's Luke Shuey. Look, Hawthorn beat West Coast if Luke Shuey's not on that park.
Agreed.
That was unbelievable. 39 disposals, 1 goal, 11 clearances, 9 tackles, a whopping 758 metres gained as well. That's a match-winning performance. He absolutely dominated all day. And my 4 votes goes to Luke Shuey. My 5 votes, probably the most underrated midfielder in the comp, doesn't get his credit enough, ever. It is Ben Cunnington of the North Melbourne Footy Club.
Mama, there goes that man.
37 disposals at 87%. Efficiency, he physically assaulted Collingwood's midfield all night.
Did.
Absolutely destroyed them. The likes of Treloar and those boys did not sleep on Saturday night.
No chance.
No. They had the tail between the legs, and they waddled home in shame. Ben Cunnington just murdered them, and he deserves all credit for what was a monstrous performance and a monstrous win for the North Melbourne Footy Club. Now, that's my 5 votes. My notable mentions, God, where do I start? Dane Zorko. I thought it was impossible to leave him out. My sincerest apologies to him. Lachie Neale and Jared Lyons as well.
Yes.
Eric Hipwood. That's 4 Brisbane players that I could have easily slotted in there. Yeah, they're my notable mentions. Bob, your votes 1 to 5.
Look, mate, my votes, and we didn't collaborate because I had to deliberate as much as you did. Mine are actually very similar. 1 vote is going to Mark Murphy. Like you said, 34-7 clearances, 1 goal, 1. Really turned back the clock for Smurfer. He was a top 10, top 20 midfielder in the comp for a long time, and he played like it on the weekend. That must be the best feeling in football, short of winning a premiership. They've been under pressure. They're the worst team in the competition. The longest road trip they're going to face. A top 8 team. To have a huge game and kick the match winner. That really is what kids dream of. So I'm glad that he got to feel that again, maybe for the last time in his career. But good on you, Mark Murphy. My 2 votes goes to Tim Kelly. He does this every week. I probably don't reward him enough because it seems like it's par for the course nowadays. Like you said, another 30-plus possession game and multiple goals. He yo-yos in pretty much every Brownlow market there is. He has an average week where he only kicks 1 goal and has 32. Yeah. But then he goes and gets 33, lights it up and kicks 2. He will be right up there on Charlie Knight. Right up there.
I think he'll win it.
Oh, big. Yeah. Long range call. Yeah. Put a froth on that?
Yes.
All right, done. My 3 votes. It goes to your boy, the Bont. The first quarter. I'm going to give you the first quarter stats because it was absolutely legendary, like you said. 12 touches, 11 contested, 82%, 6 clearances, 4 tackles, 4 inside 50s.
Wow.
In rain that was so intense it would make Noah grab a hammer. He cooled off a little bit in the 3 quarters after that. His efficiency dove right down.
Yep.
He finished on just below 60%.
Yes.
Everyone else was the same efficiency by the end. But like you said, he set the tone from the start. Hats off. Without him, you lose that game.
Yep.
For sure. My 4 votes goes to Eric Hipwood. 9 marks, 3 contested, 5 goals from 13 touches. The reason is I gave, and so did you, Charlie Cameron 4 votes last week for essentially doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can look past what appeared to me to be the best game-breaking 15 minutes of football I've seen in God knows how long. He's got a lot of questions about his kicking, but he helped keep the Lions finals campaign on track. They might be in trouble if they lose to Melbourne. Yeah, he did more than just give them a win and break that game apart. He helped keep their season on track. So 4 votes for me. My 5 votes, it's the same as you. It goes to Ben Cunnington.
Mama, there goes that man.
The numbers don't matter as much as the visual. Yeah. And you laid out the visual.
Yeah, I didn't give you many numbers.
No. Look, he had 37
yeah.
and he went at 86%. But he's had games with more clearances, games with more tackles, but it wasn't just the individual stuff. It was the leadership. Like you said, just going out there against the top 4 team and treating them like VFL children is what he did to one of the best teams in the comp. In a tough week to pick 5 votes for someone, I think he's had such a good year and it was a great chance to be able to reward him.
Yes.
Which we haven't really done all year. So, yeah, he deserves the 5 votes for me. That's all I've got. But
notable mentions.
Oh, look, Ed Kono gets a notable mention.
Of course, yeah.
But no, there was no... I mean, Cale Hooker was a match winner, but he didn't do a hell of a lot.
Yeah. Pretty much picked the same players bar one. That is remarkable, I think.
Yeah, I didn't give Luke Shuey the votes. His disposal efficiency was horrible, man. And
it was.
The Hawthorn midfield...
44%, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Hawthorn midfield is, like, beating them is not much to write home about. Smurfer did it against Fremantle. Incredibly tough.
Yeah.
Tim Kelly did it against an Adelaide team that looked like they would have won that game had he not stepped it up. Cunnington did it against a top 4 team, and Bont did it in horrendous conditions. So Shuey probably had the easiest midfield run out of everyone that got votes. So stiff to miss for me. But you're right, they wouldn't have won without him either. Yeah. So yeah, it was a real juggling match. But yeah, mate, that's it. That's all I've got for the votes. Now it's time for the return of Wisdom or Waffle.
You cannot be serious!
I am smart. S-M-R-T.
Bobby introduced this segment last week, and I think it's here to stay.
Well, for those of you that missed it last week, here's the setup. We throw some quotes and some statements at each other, and you have to decide whether it's Confucius or Kane Corns, whether it's genius or whether it's dumbassical. Same as last week. So I'll kick you off with the first one. This is from the lips of David King, Jacko. This year's draft crop could be the best we've seen for a decade.
I mean, GWS had the first 40 picks of the 2012 draft, so that stands for something. But no, I'm just joking. That GWS draft was stacked with plenty of talent. But this, I can't remember a draft crop with this much publicity week in, week out. Like, we're talking about these kids every week.
Every week.
And the impact they have. Like, we touched on over the phone who the best 3 rookies are this season. I mean, they were the same. Walsh, Rosie, Stack, etc. But, phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I think the NAB Rising Stars each week, some of the best players on the ground. They're not just good kids. They're nearly match winners.
Yeah, so wisdom.
Wisdom for you. Nice, mate.
Wisdom or waffle, Bob? The score review is an indictment on our game and must be shut down immediately.
It's a tough one. I'm going to say Waffle.
Okay.
I understand it's not working properly. Yeah, it's tough. Jared Waitley is obviously a big exponent of turning it off because it's not fulfilling its role. It is partially fulfilling its role. It's so tough, but I don't think you go without it because then we're left with umpire's call, and I think you're likely to get more wrong than you are right.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Turfing it straight away it's just another massive... It would just be another debacle overreaction.
The David Roden one on the weekend.
Yeah.
He was in... They showed the footage of it. I loved it. It was great. He's basically probably the best goal umpire that we've got. He was right on the spot.
Yeah.
He looked at it. As the ball travelled past the post, he stared at the post for an extra beat. I thought, that's smart to see if it moved. And he was like, yeah, no, that's a goal.
Yeah.
We can default to that.
Yep.
But if they're not all David Roden standard, we're in trouble.
Yes.
And they're not even close.
Yeah.
So Waffle, for me, I think you keep it even though it sucks.
Yeah.
All right. My next one for you, Jacko, wisdom or waffle. This is from Steve Hocking. When asked was the ball touched off Sean McKernan's boot on Thursday, he said, not in the vision I've seen.
Absolute waffle. The vision we've all seen is almost a dislocated finger. His response was irresponsible from where he stands in the scheme of the leadership of the AFL. It was another lazy cop-out. I felt embarrassed for him. I can't explain it.
It's a cheap justification from the AFL hierarchy again.
Yes, yeah. And keeps proving our point week in, week out that the incompetence is glaringly obvious.
They'll fail to admit fault. Look, obviously that won my team the game. I'll take that considering we were robbed when Dane Rampy climbed the post. The universe found a way to square it up for me, so I'm content as a supporter. However, if it was the other way, I'd be furious because what he has to say is, well, there's a frame missing because we haven't spent the money, and should that frame have been there, it almost certainly would have shown it being touched. Yeah. That's the answer.
Yeah. Now I'm going to run you some quick stats in my wisdom or waffle. I'm going to throw it your way, Bob. Geelong Football Club have played 75 games since 2009 at the MCG with a winning percentage of 63%. Now, their GMHBA average attendance is 28,000. Their average MCG attendance is 63,000. They have 65,000 members. Chris Scott and the Geelong Football Club, are they being absolutely precious and, quite frankly, sooks about the home ground advantage come finals time? Or do they have a good point?
No, that's wisdom for me. I'm a huge backer of if you are the home final team, you play at your home ground.
Yes.
It's bad luck. The AFL just wants to change it so they can get more bums in seats. I understand that.
Well, they had no choice against Richmond last year because as opposed to 30,000 or whatever the capacity is at GMHBA, they got, I think, 90,000 at the MCG.
I also think that the answer is not to ask clubs to switch. It's to set in motion a 10-year plan that upgrades every stadium to about 60,000 capacity. That has to be the answer.
Yep.
We're not going to take... I'm pretty sure the Giants are going to play at Giant Stadium, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so they should. They shouldn't have to play at the SCG.
Well, the Bulldogs played them in a prelim at that stadium where, quite frankly, it probably would have filled ANZ. But that just wasn't an option. And only 22,000 went there. And there was about 21,000 Bulldogs fans. So
yeah, it's gross. It doesn't work, but we shouldn't take away advantage from top teams. Otherwise, what's the incentive to finish on top? All right, my next one. It's keeping with the same theme of Geelong. It's from the lips of Chris Scott. The grand final being locked in at the G for a few more decades is, quote, a travesty.
Absolute waffle. Look, I'm Victorian, and anyone listening interstate will probably disagree with me. I don't care if it's West Coast or Fremantle, or it's a showdown grand final. They must play at the MCG.
Yep.
The MCG is the home of football. The FA Cup final... I'm going to use a soccer reference here. The FA Cup final is not going to be played at Old Trafford if it's Leeds Aston Villa. It'll always be at Wembley. Mm-hmm. That is the way it is.
Yeah.
They aspire to go to Wembley. It's the road to Wembley. What's the difference? It's the road to the MCG. 100,000. It's the home of football.
Yeah.
You want to win a grand final at the MCG.
You're right. Like my answer to the last question, I should have pointed out I have an asterisk on the grand final.
Yeah.
So every other final, you get your home ground advantage, but the grand final's at the G. We can talk about how I might fix that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think you've nailed that one.
Bob, wisdom or waffle? John Longmire's slip of the tongue. Genuine mishap or nothing to see here?
Oh, it's so hard to know. It was a definite brain misfire.
Yeah.
Is it a Freudian slip?
He frightened when he corrected himself.
Okay. Yes, there's something to write home about there. So that's wisdom. It wasn't the slip. It was the deadpan look of, I just got hit with an ice bucket on his face immediately afterwards, where he was like, do not give anything away. Use your poker face. And I was like, that's not a good poker face.
No.
You messed up. You know you messed up.
Yep.
And you could have, if you really didn't mean it, you could have laughed it off and gone, can't believe I just did that. No, I definitely mean Sydney. But he didn't. No. He was scared. Yeah. So, yeah, there's something there, I think. Yeah. I think you're onto it.
I had to ask you that one.
I like it. Yeah, that's wisdom. All right, the next one I've got for you. Pains me to have to say this. David King. Jack McRae is on track for an All-Australian nod and no one is talking about him. Let me handle this one. You're an idiot, David King. You're an absolute idiot. We were talking about him last week. He was in my running hot. Just turn on the pod.
You filthy animal.
I love that from you, Bob. The energy.
David King acts like he's no one's talking about him. Mate, we are just average football punters who love having a chinwag. We are talking about him.
Yep.
We said he's back to his prolific best because he's been running hot for weeks.
Yep.
You're not a genius, David King.
No.
You're an armchair idiot.
You're as cold as ice.
All right, I'll ask you a real question. This one you're going to have to wrap your brain around.
Oh, dear.
This is from me. Bevo is gettable and is a good fit for clubs that might need new coaches by the end of the year in either Sydney or Essendon.
It's really frightening me now, Bob, because it's being spoken about at length a lot more week by week.
Specifically those two clubs, Sydney or Essendon. I don't think he's a good fit for St Kilda or Carlton or North Melbourne.
No. Yeah, a little bit concerned. Wisdom. He's very gettable.
He's gettable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's gettable because he's achieved what he set out to achieve. He's won a premiership at the Bulldogs. I am under the impression that he has extremely close relationships with the vast majority of the Western Bulldogs Footy Club. But I think there could be integral members of our club that he doesn't always see eye to eye with. And Jordan Roughhead's a good example of that.
Well, yeah, it's cost you a few players along the way. Jake Stringer's playing great footy for us.
Absolutely.
And Roughhead.
That'll forever hurt me, losing Stringer.
Man.
He was our future. He was part of that Bont-McRae future. And he's gone.
Is he a fit for a team like Sydney or Essendon?
I think he's the best fit for Essendon.
Yeah. Yes, me too.
Yeah.
So that's wisdom?
Wisdom. And no, you can't have him. Bobby. Sam Walsh will become the best number one pick since Rewalt and Hodge.
Waffle.
Okay.
I can't. It's Waffle.
Because it's too soon.
Yet. Yeah, just yet.
I should probably rephrase it by could instead of will.
Yeah, so I think I pointed out to you that there's quite a few number one draft picks in the last, few years. I'm big on my boy Andy McGrath.
Yeah.
I think he's developing slowly.
Yeah.
But if we were as down and out as Carlton and we just grabbed him and threw him into the middle, he might look like Sam Walsh. Yeah. Sam Walsh went at 30 touches, but he had 33% disposal efficiency. He wasn't one of their gun midfielders. He's a very great contributor that needs to build. So it's Waffle because not yet. It's way too early to tell for me. My last one I've got for you. This is from my lips again, Jackie boy. If Port lose this weekend in the showdown, it's season over, considering they have 4 games against top 8 teams, along with games against the Dons and the Swans still to come.
Yeah, it'll be over because there's too many clubs around that mark that, as we touched on earlier, and you raised the North Melbourne point, if they keep this up, it's goodbye Port Adelaide and it could be hello North Melbourne. Not disregarding your boys either. They're certainly well within the fight.
Yeah, if we beat Sydney, we're right in the hunt.
Yeah, that's going to be a game, isn't it? Wisdom. Absolute wisdom. And, may I touch on, if Port Adelaide don't make finals, and there could be a little bit of a slip away, there's going to be a couple of Victorian clubs that'll start making inquiries about Ken Hinckley's availability for next season.
It's not a bad point.
Yeah.
It's not a bad point.
I think he'd be a good fit for... I think he'd be the best out of those clubs. I would probably say Carlton because they have better talent than St Kilda. I could well and truly see him down at Princes Park. Although I still think Voss is getting the job. And I've put a bottle of whiskey on it. So
he did a lot with Port Adelaide, who weren't considered to be a threat to anyone.
They had tarps over half the stadium.
Yeah, he first joined them, and him and David Koch have turned that club around. Yeah. So I think he's a lot better than what people think.
Their two only best players were Dominic Cassisi and Kane Corns at the time.
Westhoff.
Yeah.
That's it.
Their
list has changed a lot since then.
Wisdom or waffle, Bob? Majak Dawes' return to football is the greatest comeback story since North Melbourne's own Jason McCartney.
Oh.
But...
Okay.
considering the magnitude of where Majak Daw was in his life, just less than a year ago to where he is now.
I'm going to say wisdom. Now, the only one that I just thought off the top of my head that came close was Alex Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but it ended in disaster,
Yes.
getting delisted. I'm so shattered for that guy. But that return, Menzel was the other one when he finally came back and he looked like a gun footy player again. So there's been a couple where I'm like, yeah, great, but he had gotten to such a dark point. These other guys are just dealing with injuries, and he's also dealing with an injury. So that was the comparison. That was the only comparison I was trying to draw. But yeah, it is the best since Jason McCartney, and that was, a phenomenal story that had so much emotion in it. And this one seems to be around the same mark. So I hope he cracks the team and he gets into a winning team for the end of the year and they can do something with him beside them.
Yeah, I still remember the Jason McCartney night, and I don't think there was a dry eye in any living room or that stadium. I teared up. Like, I was only a kid, but, mate, that was remarkable. And, look, while we're on the Majak Daw subject, if anyone has me on Facebook, I wrote a little piece about it last night.
I did see that. Very nice, mate.
Yeah, so we talk about a lot. We focus on a lot of negatives in world sport and football and everything. We always focus on the negatives. It's stories like these, the more human sort of fight back, comeback stories that still exist in world sport. It really hit home for me because it sits quite closely to my heart. This sort of subject, and I couldn't be prouder of him. And best of luck to him come the weekend. Good on you, Majak. It's now time for Bobby's Hot and Cold.
Alrighty, I'll try and rip through some of this because we've carried on a little bit too long already. Last week, I gave you Jack McRae for my running hot. He needed to get 35 and 6 inside 50s. Of course, you backed him because he's your boy. 36, 1 inside 50. That'll cost you a froth. God damn it. Second one, Brad Crouch, 32 and 1 goal. You loved that. You took it immediately. 27 and 2 points. That'll cost you a froth as well. All right, for my running hot this week.
He's heating up. He's on fire.
Dane Zorko. Now, he can run hot, but throughout his career, he's fluctuated hot and cold.
Yes.
Sometimes across seasons, sometimes across months. From round 14 and 15 versus rounds 11 and 12, the numbers have showed that he really enjoyed the bye. His touches are up 29.5 versus 16. Score involvements, 4 goals 2 versus 2 goals 1. Clearances 6.5 versus 2.5. Marks up 6.5 versus 2. And his disposal efficiency is up by 5%. The opposition quality hasn't budged. Melbourne and St Kilda, he did some damage compared to the Blues and the Hawks where he was a bit average. This week they've got GWS. Can he grab 28 and add 4 scoring plays to his numbers? That means either goals, points, and goal assists.
Yeah, he'll get that done.
All right, lock it in. The next one for my running hot.
He's heating up. He's on fire.
It's Jack Redden. Now, he goes under the radar a little bit over in Perth. Since he's moved from Brizzy, he's given West Coast a solid 70 games. Some big efforts in the finals last year.
Yep.
He was excellent. The last few weeks is my focus versus the 2 weeks prior. Average disposals is up 30 versus 18.
Wow.
His contested possessions have doubled to 12. His clearances are up 6.5 versus 3. Free kicks are up by 2 per week. His 1%ers, he's averaging 5 versus 1 a game.
Wow.
So he's on fire, and he clearly enjoyed the bye as well. Can he carve out 28 touches and 5 clearances versus Freo in their derby this weekend?
Yes, he will. Big game. And he'll deliver the goods, and West Coast will, ride a nice victory home.
Special mention in the running hot. He deserves to be there if he carries on like this. Josh Shackey, 3 goals for the second week consecutively. Can he kick 2 goals versus the Cats?
He'll kick 3+.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Bob, thanks, Shaq. Thank you for proving us wrong.
You're a legend, Josh Shackey. I love him. I love you now, mate. This is great to see you up and about. All right, to my running cold. Last week, I gave you Jack Nunes. He needed to get 19, 6 contested, and 2 clearances. He got dropped. He did. I did say that could be the coldest running player I've found all year.
Yeah.
He got dropped, so to be confirmed, we'll come up with something else when he's back in the side.
Could he find his way to Trevor Barkler Oval on the weekend? Did he know where that was?
Jeremy Cameron was my other one. 4 goals was the asking price. You said, oh yeah, and then you went, oh no. And you stuck with no. Well done. He kicked 3 goals, 1. So that's minus a froth from your tab, mate. The other one was Shane Edwards. He'd been out for a little while, so he was a retrospective running cold. He needed to get 23 inside 50s and 300 metres gained versus the Saints. You said yes. 14 touches, 1 inside 50, 100 metres. That's minus a froth.
Oh,
so
dear.
you are on 7 froths year to date. All right.
Oh, I've crossed over the 6-pack.
Yes.
Hey, Bob, I might feature in your running cold soon. Gee whiz.
All right. For the running cold this week,
You're as cold as ice.
Heath Shaw.
Wow.
Now, he's a very reliable defender, but he's been waning lately. The more damaging stat is against top 8 teams compared to the bottom 10 teams. Versus bottom 10, he averages 25. Versus top 8, he averages 16. His efficiency also goes down. The last 2 games is my focus. He's averaging 15.5 touches, 6.5 rebound 50s, 2.5 marks, 64% efficiency. The 2 weeks before that, he was averaging 25, 8.5 rebound 50s, 10 marks, and 77% efficiency. 13% efficiency drop-off in 2 weeks. It's massive. He's probably past the point of being an elite defender, but is he past the point of even being a good defender? Can he respond versus Brisbane, get 20 touches at 75%?
No, he won't. Brisbane's forward line may possibly carve them up on the weekend, but we'll touch on that later.
All right, my next one, running cold.
You're as cold as ice.
The veteran's in the crosshairs this week. It's David Mundy.
Oh, wowee.
Now, I don't know if you've been tracking his form, so let me give this to you. Here's his last month versus his year to date. So for the last 4 matches versus the first 10, 27 touches, down to 20.
Okay.
Of which his contested possessions are down from 14 to 9. Disposal efficiency has dropped from 70% to 48% in the last month.
Dear.
His clearances are down from 7.5 to 4.
Yep.
He's only managed 2 points in the last month, and he hasn't won a single free kick. Marks, tackles, and some other stats are down, but so minimally. He's clearly feeling the dreaded ball and chain of father time. After their horrible loss at home on the weekend, his team will be asked to respond. Can he respond along with them? Get 24 touches at 70% and 5 clearances in the derby.
He'll get 28, he'll kick a snag, and he'll be running at over 70% efficiency. Big game player, veteran leader. Fremantle need him this weekend in the Western Derby. I'm throwing a Hail Mary at you because, hell, I already owe you over a 6-pack, so why the hell not? Yeah, I can't say no. I love him.
I was stunned when I looked at that.
Yeah.
48% efficiency over the last month.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for my hot and cold this week. It's time to see where Jack is beaming his spotlight.
Say that again. Holy shit, Jamie, pull that video up.
Now, Bob, I'm taking a different approach to the spotlight. I'm not focusing solely on something I want to focus on. We were talking off air, and you have absolutely intrigued me with some of your theories. So I'm actually going to put the spotlight to you this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're going to do a little switcheroo here, and we're going to shake things up a bit. Now, we were talking about the whole MCG grand final locked in till at least 2057.
Yep.
Which, rightfully so. We can both agree on that. But you've thrown a little spanner in the works, and every American sport, now, they do series in their finals. Not only is it a millions and millions of dollars of a moneymaker, but the media attention and the following it gets is absolutely contagious. Now, Bob, throw us your theory and what you would like to see.
This is something I told you about, I can't even remember how long ago.
I'd nearly say 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was quite some time ago. It's just something I've thought about. Some of them are crackpot, but I like this one. I've thought about it for years now. That the grand final should be a best of 3 series. The top seed gets the first game at their home, and then you return to the opposition's home. So it does not matter which 2 teams are playing in the grand final series. It's 3 weeks long. I don't see there being a problem with that. We can happily shorten the season, have 1 bye round.
That would be my first question. Now, would we shorten the season by would we have
Of course.
everyone plays each other once?
Well, we don't even have to go
Well,
that
we don't
far.
even- no,
if you
no.
want to keep, if the AFL and whoever else wants to see this many weeks of home and away, just cut out the 3 bye rounds and make it 1.
Yep.
Make that the mid-season trade period, which I think they need to have.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yep.
And then you would have 2 more weeks in the back end of the year.
Yeah.
Done. So the finals would start a little bit earlier, but almost the entire month of September would be grand final month.
Yeah.
The amount of revenue you generate, because when you go to game 3, that's what's locked into the MCG.
Yep.
Every year,
Yep.
no fail, last day in September, if we go to game 3, we're playing there. If it doesn't, so be it.
Yeah.
The AFL will hate it because it won't get them the same money, because they might go and fill 55,000 or 50,000 stadiums
Yep.
across 2 weeks and miss out on a game at the G. But that's not the point. We need to make this fairer. It needs to be a properly national game that rewards top interstate teams. I do think it's unfair that they are forced to play at the MCG. They do have all year to play games at the MCG and get good at playing MCG footy. But you can see what happened when West Coast redeveloped Optus Oval. They made it the same dimensions, won 5 in a row at the MCG now.
Yes.
Won a grand final as well.
Yep.
It doesn't bother them. So the other clubs need to take notice. That's why I like...
Doesn't bother Fremantle either.
No.
No.
A long-term plan that upgrades stadiums around the country, I really don't understand why it can't work.
I absolutely love it, Bob.
The only drawback is you don't get to a game 3.
Yeah.
But you can pack 40,000 members.
So what? They don't.
Into
Sometimes
2 grand
you don't
finals.
even get to a game 5 in the NBA, and it's still awesome to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So each team gets a home grand final.
Yep.
And then we have a neutral venue grand final.
Yeah. For example, say hypothetically, it's Brisbane versus West Coast in the best of 3 grand final series. West Coast finish above Brisbane. Game 1, Optus Stadium. Game 2, the Gabba. Decider at the G.
Absolutely. And
That is epic.
the reason that
I love it.
the top-ranked team gets
Yep.
the home advantage, it stops teams from tanking and
Yep.
resting players.
Yeah. You mentioned mid-season trade. It is the missing piece in our competition. Every other sporting code around the world has it, and it works a treat. I'm going to name one player as a perfect example of someone who would have loved to find a new home 2 weeks ago, and that's Adelaide's Bryce Gibbs.
Even Adelaide's Josh Jenkins.
Yeah, Josh Jenkins. Yep. I would have happily welcomed
Port
him.
Adelaide's
to Whitnall.
Paddy Ryder.
Yep.
Braden Sear wanting
Yep.
to crack into that Collingwood team before Dane Beams went out.
Toby McLean.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys around the league.
Yep.
A lot.
Yep. I think it's going to happen because it's been in the works for a while now.
But that trade period is only open for a week. That's everyone's buy.
Yep.
Why not?
Yep. I love it. It's inevitable. It will come. My last one, State of Origin. It has to come back.
Yeah, so I guess the best of 3 grand final series, the easiest fix is to cut the bye rounds from 3 to 1.
Yep.
But if I was having it my way, we'd have the mid-season break would still go for 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
Where we would have State of Origin, Carnival, and the trades.
Yep.
Each player might only play 3 quarters, in terms of
Yeah,
time on
yeah.
ground. They play like 70%. Less risk of injury, but you'd still see the absolute best. And you make it a 2-week carnival.
I'd love to rock the Big V walking around.
Oh, it'd be sensational,
It's
wouldn't
awesome.
it?
And having the Bonds number on it.
I'd buy a Big V jumper
Yep.
and wear it with pride, walking down to the shops.
Yeah, absolutely.
At my bogan best, I
Yeah.
would be sporting that down at the pub as well. All right, I like that, Jackie boy. A little bit of a different spotlight. That was
absolutely.
great. It's time for Compare the Pair.
Compare the pair.
All right, each week I give Jack a mental dilemma and see if his brain is firing on all cylinders. This week I've got Nat Fyfe
Oh, dear.
versus Marcus Bontempelli. So this is why. I'm going to start off with the physicals. They're nearly identical height and weight.
Yep.
Very similar type of player. Fyfe has 4 years and 50 games more experience. They're both first rounders. Bont was pick 4. Fyfe was pick 20. This question is...
Fyfe was pick 20.
I know. This is aimed for the last All-Australian spot in the team. Not the extended squad of 40, in the team. Here are the differences. Fyfe wins the disposals by 3 more per game.
Yep.
It's not that much. He's 5% more efficient. However, the Bont has more effective kicks and a better kick-to-handball ratio. Bont wins the metres gained, obviously. He wins the inside 50s, but only barely. Fyfe has way more contested possessions and intercept possessions per game. Fyfe is clearly better at stoppages. Intercept marks, he's elite as a midfielder for that stat. But the Bont is way more dangerous near goal. The defensive stats, it's fair to say they're identical. They both rank elite for centre clearances and contested marks amongst mids, and they're both elite for goal assists as well. Thought Nathan Fyfe. I don't think he's likely to win another Brownlow, but I think he can finish in the top 5 regularly.
Yeah.
I think the Bont's that player as well. It would be a shame not to see him win a Brownlow at some stage. So who would you pick for your last All-Australian spot for mids and why?
You scumbag. You prick. How dare you do this to me?
It would be tough to sell out your boy, but
Yeah.
man, it's close.
Nat Fife.
Yeah, it's not by much though.
No,
honestly.
Nat Fife. I have to say Nat Fife. Yeah.
Single tear just rolled down his cheek.
Finding it remarkably difficult when you crunch those numbers there, but it's Fife's point of difference is the hardness at the contest, those contested possessions. He is a bull.
Okay,
Bontempelli's silkier.
so here's where I'll give you the conundrum. You've built an All-Australian team.
Yeah.
All you need to do is throw in someone like Ben Cunnington, and you don't need that hardness anymore. You might want the outside work, the inside 50 work, and the goal-scoring nous of Marcus Bontempelli.
I repeat, you're a scumbag. You're
Fife's intercept marking and contested marking is better. So perhaps he's better hard
He's certainly better aerial.
in the air
Yeah,
and on his feet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Nat Fife, and we won't go any further in this chat. Thank you.
I like it. All right. Good work, mate. Now, it's time. I've been scraping down the side of the couch because I can't wait for this week. It's Jack's Multi!
Alrighty, Bob. Now, last week was absolutely horrendous. I think I did 40 plus for every upset.
You did.
Yeah. So I had, I'll digress. My first leg is the big clash between Hawthorn and Collingwood. I have either team by 24 or less paying $1.83. So I think we'll have a close one. Port Adelaide, I've got them head-to-head. They're going to respond in the showdown. Kings of inconsistency. Port Adelaide are paying a juicy $2.15.
Nice.
Nice. Good odds there. Now, I cannot believe I'm saying this, and it's probably the first time for this season. I am backing Carlton to beat Melbourne and win back-to-back games. Back from the road as well. 1-24 paying $4.33. I don't rate Melbourne at all.
Max Gorn might not get up either.
Max Gorn won't play.
That's
I
a
don't think.
great price.
Carlton for me. I'm going to put North Melbourne 1-39 to defeat St Kilda paying $2. Put all 4 of those bangers together and you get $34.
Not bad, mate. I might chuck a cheeky tenner on that. I hope you get it right this week for once.
No, I did get one.
Yeah,
I
you
got
got
one
up
early
once.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
didn't-
beginner's luck.
didn't put
But
anything on
anyway,
it.
$34 that's paying. And of course, always remember, guys, gamble responsibly.
Before we go into the match preview, we'll check the tips as we do every week. You pulled one back on me last week, mate. You got 5, I got 4, so we're only separated by 1 year to date. It's time to start taking a few gambles, I reckon.
Yeah.
And try
I'm taking gambles this week, Bob.
Alrighty.
No holds barred.
Well.
Bring them to me.
First game of the round, we've got the Hawks versus the Pies at the MCG. Who do you like and why?
I'm tipping Collingwood.
Collingwood.
I'm tipping Hawk Collingwood. I'm tipping the Pies, and I'm not doing it confidently. Pies will win by 3 goals.
Yeah, look, Stratton back for the Hawks. He's got something to prove, so I expect a big game from Ben Stratton.
I'm expecting some bruises on some Collingwood arms too.
De Goey might not take that punishment. He's not as soft as Fantasia.
We
I
might
don't
miss
think.
him for a month then from retaliation.
Yeah, Pies by 15 points for me. Next game, there's a massive one for my mob. Dons versus the Swans. Who do you have?
Essendon will beat the Swans. It will be... You know what? I'm going to call it. We're taking risks this week, Bob. It's going to be a classic. I think the Dons will win by under a goal.
Love it. Yeah, look, both teams will be without their number 1 ruckman.
Yep.
So that should be interesting. We'll probably bring back Zach Clark. Fascinated to see how Sydney manage their ruck duties. I've got the Bombers to go big and win by 30 points.
Nice.
All right, the next game is the Suns versus the Tigers. It's up at Metricon Stadium. Who do you like, buddy?
Now, this is my... No, it's not. Richmond. Richmond will win by 40 plus.
40 plus for Richmond. I'm seriously considering the Suns.
No!
You cannot be serious!
Seriously considering them. I don't know why either.
God, you've had too many beers tonight, Bob.
I've had a few.
Yeah.
Nah, look, all right, I'll go for Richmond. It's the safe option. I'll take them by 10 points, though. I think it'll be closer than what we... The Suns have been the bogey team for Richmond for years.
Yeah.
They really...
Carmichael Hunt's a late in as well.
And they've moved the game to Alice Springs. All right, next game of the round. It's the showdown in South Australia. It's the Crows versus Port Adelaide. Who do you like in this one?
I have no idea, and I'm going to tip Port Adelaide. I think they'll respond after a terrible home loss. And this is literally do or die for them. They lose this. Those final hopes are dwindling away far too quickly. Port will win by 3 goals.
Mate, that's exactly what I've got written down as my margin. A few wins for both teams. Lynch, Ellis Yeoman, and Malira should come back for the Crows. The return of the pig, Tom Rockcliffe, and Westhoff, surely they come back in for Port. So yeah, 3 goals for me, but like you said, I'm not confident either. The next game, your mob, the Dogs versus the Cats. It's at Marvel.
Yep.
What do you got for this one?
Geelong will win, and Geelong will win by only 2 or 3 goals. I think we'll really give it to them. We've played our best against the best, and we've played our worst against the worst. And I think we'll give them a run for their money, but their class will be way too good.
Yeah, Gary Rowan should be back in for the Cats.
Yep.
After his concussion out.
Caleb Daniels out for us.
He is. Now, here's the question I got for you. Who comes in, McLean or Wallace?
Wallace.
Okay. I've got the Cats to win by 32 points. I'm sorry to tell you, mate.
That's all right.
Next game of the round, it's the derby. It's Freo versus the Eagles over at Optus Stadium. Who do you like in this one?
I like Fremantle.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like Fremantle. I think they'll be absolutely ashamed and embarrassed by last week. And I think Sonny... What's his name, Bob?
Scottish Kiss Walters.
I think he will light up Optus Stadium. And I think they'll shock the West Coast Eagles and they'll win by 10 points.
Oh, a nice, tight
That's my
derby.
That's one of my risks.
Look, Sandilands is available.
I know.
It would be fascinating. It would be such a throwback, retro throwback almost.
Yeah.
Nick Nat versus Sandilands in the middle.
Yeah. I'm pretty keen. I haven't seen Happy Gilmore in a while, and he was probably the best in that film.
Look, McGovern's back from his suspension.
Yep.
Tom Barras is available if they're interested in playing him. I have West Coast to win by 27 points.
Okay.
I just think their forward line's really hard to stop.
Yeah.
Really hard, and Shuey's in form. Nick Nat's back.
Darling looks good.
Darling looks great.
Yeah.
So the next game, it's one you already touched on in the multi. It's the Blues versus the D's at the G. I think I know where you're leaning. What have you got?
It will be the lowest scoring game of the round, and Carlton will win by under a goal again. Goody will throw the axe and play the kids for the rest of the year if they lose to Carlton.
Yeah, fair call.
Yeah. Carlton will win another game of footy.
Okay, here's where I'm at. If Max Gawn doesn't play, Carlton win.
Yeah.
So I've got Carlton to win by 10. If Gawn gets up,
They'll win by 10 goals.
I have Melbourne to win by 20 points.
Yeah.
So I think he's the difference
Yeah.
for Melbourne most weeks. Without him, they're in serious trouble. Bruce is sitting there waiting in the wings.
Yep.
And he was good early on in the year. Hasn't really gotten another chance. So they do have a ruckman, but he'll probably get touched up against Cruiser.
It's what you get for picking a club with the best ruckman, arguably the best ruckman in the comp.
Yeah,
it bewilders me. He would have got 22 games at the Dogs.
It was a silly move then. Still silly. Next game, North versus the Saints. It's at Blundstone Arena down in Tassie.
I should have gone 40 plus.
Alrighty.
North Melbourne will absolutely destroy St Kilda at Blundstone Arena. They'll win by 50 plus. Ben Brown will kick 5 or more.
Yeah, North, surely.
Yeah.
Ben Brown kicking 4 points last week. You won't see that very often.
No.
Yeah, look, I think St Kilda are cooked. They're
cooked.
Totally a bottom 4 team now.
Yep.
They might even slide further than that to bottom 2 or 3. Roos by 8 goals for me.
Nice.
Last game of the round. This is a barn burner. GWS versus Brisbane. It's at Giant Stadium.
Yep.
Lockie Whitfield to return? Mm-hmm. Possibly.
Very nice.
Who do you have to win this one and why? This is 4th versus 5th.
This is epic. And risk number 2 for the week. I'm tipping the Brisbane Lions. This is the game. This is their coming of age game. If they win away against the Giants, the Brisbane Lions have arrived.
Agreed.
And they are a serious threat.
Agreed.
Yeah, so, and I want that to happen because you know me, I love a good story, and they excite the hell out of me. Brisbane by 2 goals.
Look, I've got the Giants.
Yeah.
I think they clearly didn't show their top 4 quality against Essendon.
It's rather pedestrian from you there, Bob. No, I know. I understand.
Look, they're way better than what they played last Thursday.
Yeah.
I know that. I know that we were lucky to catch them a little bit off their game. Cameron should be pretty dangerous. Phil Davis will do a job on Hipwood pretty comfortably. I've got GWS to win by 30 points.
Okay. It's been a long one. It's been a good one. And yeah, that is all we've got time for. Now, don't forget to jump on Instagram, follow us, like all our content, that we will be spilling out on the weekend. Not only AFL, but the Cricket World Cup is heating up. Wimbledon has got off to a brilliant start, and plenty other sports as well, Bob.
Oh, NBA free agency, mate. Can't wait to dissect that. Hopefully next week. Stay tuned. There might be a global, so make sure you scroll down, hit subscribe, and smash the bell so you can jump on it as soon as it comes out. We should have a special guest appearance.
We do have a special
by
guest.
the man from America himself.
Yeah, Tim Smith will be joining us on the Global Podcast Free Agency Special. Former Plattsburgh College basketballer. Can't wait to deep dive into NBA free agency with the great man himself, Bob.
Can't wait for it. All right, guys. Thanks very much for joining us again. Stay tuned for everything that's coming up, and we'll catch you next week.
No worries. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell button harder than you've ever hit anything before. Good night.